Welcome to Viking Recreation in East Bridgewater, Massachusetts. This is the semifinal round of the Pro Series Elimination Tournament, and in this elimination format, you've got four bowlers competing in a one-string match in the semifinal. With the two top scorers in this round will be moving on to the final match, and the bowlers in this match are going to be Jim Ayotte, Ed Woodside, John Winchell, and Brian Feist. Getting it underway are Jim Ayotte and Eddie Woodside. These guys have made their way through a five-string qualifying round and then a couple of rounds of elimination match play in which it's not head-to-head match play, but the field is cut to the top 16 bowlers after the qualifying round. And in each round of elimination, the top half of the field moves on. So in this round, the semifinal round, there are four bowlers left, and the top two will move on to the final. Actually, the top two and ties, if there's a tie for the bottom of the tier. And there's a nice 10 box by Eddie Woodside in the second frame. Jim Ayotte having picked up a spare, converting that 7 pin. Jim Ayotte has won a number of Pro Series tournaments before. I don't have it in front of me to tell you exactly how many he won, but he should be no stranger to any of you who follow the Candlepin tournament circuit on a regular basis, because he's frequently appearing in the winner's circle. Eddie Woodside is also one of the top bowlers on the Candlepin tournament circuit. He did very well on the senior tour a couple of years ago in the last year of that tournament circuit. And he's also a standout with the Central Park Lanes team in the Friday Night Pro League. And there's a great shot by Eddie Woodside, covering that 1-3-6-7 split. And not to be outdone, Jim Ayotte with the Four Horsemen. Here's another look at the cover by Ed Woodside. He might have been helped a little bit by that wood in front of the 7 pin, but might have gone without it, I'm quite sure. Anyway, Eddie fills his spare with a 7, but a tough split, 3, 4, and 6. Meanwhile, Jim Ayotte with a 5 drop on the spare. He's got 49 through the 4th. Ed Woodside with 45. Both bowlers will be open in the 5th frame. Ed Woodside with a 9 box. Jim Ayotte working on the 3 and 6. And he's got them. So Jim Ayotte has a 59 half and Ed Woodside with 54. And that's going to bring up John Winchell and Brian Feist. And both of these guys are also probably very familiar to you if you watch the Pro Series regularly. And there's a strike by Brian Feist. Really solid 1-2 pocket hit, as you can see here on the replay. Didn't take long at all to go. Both of these guys have actually been successful in doubles tournaments on the Pro Series circuit. John Winchell is fresh off a win last month with his partner Bob Whitcomb. And Brian Feist, as you probably know, has won a couple of Pro Series tournaments with his partner Skip Easterbrook. And a nice bid by John Winchell on that half Worcester, almost converting it. He really hit almost perfectly 1-3 pocket, which is one of the two ways of making the half Worcester. And he'll work it out for a 10. Brian Feist, light 1-3 pocket hit, drops 8. He's got the 2 and 7. John Winchell, also in the 1-3 pocket, he leaves the 5-8-9 triangle. So he's got a plank, but it's well out front, so he's going to have to hit it probably right of the red line in order to cover all three of those pins. And he just went a little, probably a little bit too far left. He was a little bit left of the red line, and that wood just spun around and took out the 8, but left the 5-9. Brian Feist with a 9 box. He has 28 through the second. John Winchell trying to clean up the 5-9, and he does. 20 through 2. Brian Feist is no stranger to the South Shore, as he was a regular on the South Shore Candlepin tour that we had for a few years. He's a resident of this area. And there's a strike by John Winchell. There's a replay, kind of a wall shot. The head pin goes to the sidewall and takes out the 4 and the 7. Very nice ball by John Winchell. And Brian Feist with an excellent ball. Almost the same pocket hit, but just a little bit lighter, and the ball was deflected around the 10 pin, and meanwhile he wasn't able to carry the pins in the back. So that was a really tough break off an excellent first ball, and Brian ends up with an 8 box. He's got 36 through the third. John Winchell with 30 plus the strike fill. And Brian Feist punches out the 1-5 directly in the center of the head pin. Goes right through. John Winchell full on the head pin, not quite as full. He's got the 2, 4, 6, and 10. Probably just be trying to maximize the strike fill by taking 2 out of this. And actually, he almost got it off the wall. I'm sure that's not how he was probably playing it, but he covers the 2 and 4, so that's an 8 fill on the strike. He's got 38 through the third, and he's going to try and cover the 6-10, pushes that flank back, and that's a 10 box. So John has 48 through the fourth. Brian Feist with 44. Brian with a nice ball, kind of full on the head pin, but he gets a splash out of it, and he's left with a 4 pin. Piece of wood in front of it that should widen the target a little bit. John Winchell leaves the Caleri. Brian Feist with the spare in the 5th. So he will have 54 plus the spare fill. And a nice bid by John Winchell on that Caleri. Notorious 4 horsemen plus the inboard pin. Very, very difficult spare to convert. And he'll take an 8 box. So this is really you could throw a blanket over these 4 scores after the first 5 boxes. Not a high scoring match, but it's a very close one. You can see Jim Ayotte with 59, and Eddie Woodside 54, John Winchell 56, and Brian Feist with 54 plus a ball. So it's really anybody's game here at this point, halfway through the match. And we will see what Jim Ayotte and Ed Woodside can do in the second half. You notice they do not switch lanes in this elimination format. You stay on the same lane because technically it's not match play, so everybody stays on the same lane for the entire string, and that will also be true in the final round. There is a nice spare by Ed Woodside. Makes that 7-10 split utilizing the wood in front of the 7, which came off the wall. We will take another peek at that in just a moment, and you can see how Ed converted that spare. Jim Ayotte for the 9 in the 6th. And you can see 3 pieces of wood there, and I'm not sure exactly which one of them came over to get the 10 pin, but that's a great spare by Ed Woodside in the 6th. And nice ball, but he just only fills it with 3. He punches out the 1, 8, and 9. And right in on the head pin. And a strike by Jim Ayotte in the 7th. And Ed Woodside is he's still got quite a bit of work to do. He's got the spread eagle and only 1 ball to go. He'll be trying to work it out. And hey, that's a nice out there just to get an 8 box out of that. Here's another look at the strike really high flush 1-3 pocket hit by Jim Ayotte. Really smashes the pocket, and 8-pin is the last one to go. That's a strike in the 7th. That gives him 78 plus the strike fill that he's with. Nice 1-3 pocket hit. Leads at 5-9. And that was a good pocket hit by Jim Ayotte. A little bit too high, though, and he's got this 7 and 10. Couple of pieces of wood down there. And I think he was trying to catch the left side of that cap and kick that wood over into the 10. In any case, he does take out the 7, so that is a 9 fill on the strike. And he'll have a 10 box in the 8th. So Jim Ayotte with 97 through 8, Ed Woodside with 84. Ed's going to be looking to do something in the last couple of boxes to try and pad his score a little bit, because he knows that John Winchell and Brian Feist are lurking back there with another half to go, and not needing really an explosive half to catch what Eddie and Jim have done in this half. So, been a low-scoring match. Not a high-scoring day here at Viking Recreation, which is sort of typical. The sort of house where you really have to stay on the head pin. That's an 8 box for Jim Ayotte against the 10 for Ed Woodside. So Ed really would like to have a mark here in the last box. It's going to be tough because he has a kind of a thin hit 4 drop, and he's got the 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 9. And this is almost mandatory that he can. He's got it. Great shot by Ed Woodside. Let's look at this in slow motion. And that was just, as I say, almost a mandatory spare at this point to stay in contention. And he rises to the occasion with that brilliant spare conversion there. And Jim Ayotte goes by that 3-5 pair. He's going to be trying to cover them on the last ball. And he goes by them again. So that's just an 8 box and a 113 for Jim Ayotte. You can see he's really not too happy about that. Meanwhile, Ed Woodside with 104 plus the fill ball, and he needs a bunch. And he's got a bunch. Is that going to go for a strike? It doesn't look like it's going to go. So, sure enough, it stays up. So, both guys with 113, as you can see here on the scoreboard. So what that means is that both of these guys are a little bit vulnerable if John Winchell and Brian Feist can put something together in the second half. John Winchell is going to need 1 mark to catch them. He'd need 1 mark with a good fill and good pinning to get from 56 to 113. Brian Feist with 54 plus the spare fill. So he's going to need, well, actually he's going to need another mark, because even if he got 9, that would give him 63, and he would still need another mark somewhere along the way in order to beat a 113. And he's got 8. So Brian Feist with 62 through 5, but he's got the 2 and 10. That's not a very makeable split. He gives it a good bid. Goes over a little bit to the left side of the 2-pin, but not enough to kick it over. John Winchell looking over this 7-10. Seems like the 7-10 is all over the place today. See what he can do with these. How is he going to play the wood? Wow, great bid by John Winchell. And he touches the 7 and wiggles it a little bit, but it doesn't go. Might have wanted to be a little bit further right on that wood to get a little bit more momentum on those other pieces going over to the 7. But in any case, it's a 10 box for each guy. John Winchell with 66 through the 6th, and Brian Feist 72. So both guys are going to need a mark somewhere along the way in order to catch the 113s of Jim Ayotte and Ed Woodside. Brian Feist with a good opportunity here. 8 drop, and he leaves the 5 and 8. but he's got a piece of wood in there that would prevent him from chopping the 5 off the 8. Unfortunately, you need to hit the 5 on that, and Brian goes by to the right, so he will be open in the 7. John Winchell with a 4 drop, and then just picked out the 2 and 4, so he's got a little bit more work to do on the 3rd ball. And it's kind of important because at 66, and there's a 6 box, so that means that John Winchell is going to need 2 marks now because he's got 72 through the 7th, so he's got 11 pins to make up to get to 113. And obviously that you can't do that with 1 mark, so he's going to need 2 marks in his last 3 boxes somewhere along the way to catch the 113. And he's got a shot at it here. Pretty good. It's almost a half whisker ball, but he got a break out of it. It was just a 1, 2, 4, and 8. Brian Feist with a tough break there on that 4 drop. He's got 4, 6, 7, and 9 left. He'll be trying to take out to John Winchell with a tough break there. Got a little bit too full on the head pin. Didn't quite convert the spare. Brian with a 7. He's got 89 through the 8. He's going to need a mark. John Winchell with a 10. So basically the situation is that John Winchell needs 2 marks, and Brian Feist needs 1 in the last 2 to get to where they need to go, namely 113 or better. There's a 9 drop by John Winchell, 4 pin, and this is obviously imperative that he convert this 4 pin. Before having to throw a double box. And he is all over that. So that's part of the battle there. He needs a good fill and another mark. Brian Feist with a 10. He has 99. And we'll take a look at the scoreboard with 1 box to go. Very, very close match. As you can see, John Winchell with 92 plus a ball. He needs a good fill and another mark. Brian Feist with 99, so he would need a spare with a strike or a spare with a 4 fill to catch the 113, or obviously a bigger fill than that, to move past Ayotte and Woodside. But both guys are going to need marks. There is an 8 drop by Brian Feist, but he's got the 3 and 9. Piece of wood at an angle there. It's going to be a tough shot. He's going to have to push that wood back to cover the 9. Meanwhile, John Winchell is going to have to take down the Caleri, and you know how difficult that is. And there's a great shot by Brian Feist to push that 3 back. And let's look at it in slow motion. This wood covers both the 3 and the 9. He hits it very high. And that's really a perfect shot right there for Brian Feist. So he's going to just need a 4 fill to get to 113. And John Winchell doesn't cover the Caleri. Again, that's a very tough shot. He gave it a good try, but wasn't able to do it. So he will come in 4th. Pretty good day for John, but not another win here on the Pro Series circuit. So let's see what Brian Feist can do. And that's going to do it for him. That gives him an 8 fill and a 117. So what's going to happen here is there's a tie for second. So Brian Feist with 117 and Jim Ayotte and Ed Woodside tie for second. There's no tie break here. What happens is they both will move on to the final. So the final in the elimination is going to be a 3-man match between Ayotte, Woodside, and Feist, and we will have that later on.